Welcome to VW Classic Fix. I'm Ricky, and today I'm going to show you how to change your spark plugs on your air-cooled Volkswagen engine. So these engines are really typically quite easy to work on, but the spark plugs can be a bit of a pain to try and get access to. So what you've got to first realize is that there's two spark plugs either side because it's an east-west boxer motor, which means that the pistons fire horizontally as opposed to vertically. So you've got two spark plugs over the one side of the engine behind the fan shroud that go into one head, and then two over this side onto the other head. So to change the spark plugs, you need pretty simple tools. You're going to need a 21mm socket, a ratchet, and an extension. So the first thing you've got to do to gain access to the spark plugs, which can be a bit of a pain, is you've got to remove the fresh air hoses. These are typically clamped up here. This one's all been taken off. So just carefully remove those, take those out of the way. And you can see my tire board's hanging back a bit here. Hopefully yours isn't. Hopefully it's pinned back with the metal clips that hold it in place. It'll give you even better access if that's the case. But we're going to press ahead anyway. And you'll see two spark plug wires here running from two corners of the distributor cap, running down to either spark plug. So what I typically do is work with one at a time. They are difficult to get out and also difficult to wire back up again. For some reason I always get it in the wrong order, so I work one spark plug at a time, unplugging only one lead at a time. Let's give it a go. Because the access is so bad around the side of the engine there, I'm not going to be able to get the camera in and show you exactly where the spark plugs are, but realistically you're not going to be able to see them too well either. You can sort of hold things back and have a look. You'll see the cables, and they should have air seals placed against the metal tinware here. So we'll just take, let's say, the closest one here, unplug the cable, tuck that out of the way. And the next thing you want to do is, without the ratchet, just take the 21mm socket or the 13th, 16th socket and the extension and just try and slot it over the top of the hex of the spark plug, lock it in place. Then we can add the ratchet and then loosen the spark plug from there. So it's a bit of a two-stage process. You won't get the whole tool in here in one go. So it's just a case of reaching in, goes in further than you think. That's locked there on the spark plug now. I can add the ratchet and we can loosen it. And we only want to crack it with the ratchet, and then we'll wind it out by hand. So now the socket's in there with the extension. I can see the end there. We're going to take the ratchet, lock it onto the end, just gently loosen the spark plug, take the ratchet back off, and then you can go in by hand and just start to swivel, hopefully, the spark plug loose. There we go, that's a bit looser now. And just before it comes loose, this is the biggest, most important thing. It's very, very easy to lose the spark plug. As you're taking it out, it slips out of the deep socket and falls in between the fins on the head and the tinware. And you'll be here a month of Sundays trying to get that spark plug out. I've done it so many times that I really, really try my hardest to make sure that doesn't happen, because you'll double, if not triple, the length of time that this takes to do all four spark plugs. So at this point, I've pretty much unwound the spark plug all the way by hand with the socket and the extension. I'm now going to take that out because it's loose enough that I can hopefully just get in there with the tip of my fingers, grab the top of the spark plug. The idea is just to wind it out by hand, so that as soon as it becomes free, I've got a handle on it and I don't lose it. This is the most important, most difficult bit about the whole thing. And another handy hint is you really want to look at every single spark plug that you take out, so you know how the engine is firing on that cylinder, and also what your fuel mixture and things like that looks like. And you'll get an idea of how old your spark plugs are. This one doesn't look terribly old, but we've got a little bit of blowback here, a little bit of leakage coming around the ceramic where it's typically sealed. But also, if you just look in this end here, I mean, you really can't even see the electrode even this close up in this lighting. It's just black. All of the threads are black, and don't forget that a spark plug does need to gain earth off the head. So if you were going to be putting this back in, this probably needs to be sandblasted and cleaned really well. You want to clean the threads and the electrode and make sure that the point gap there, the gap between here, is set correctly as well. But in this case, I'm going to be replacing this. So now that we've got our new spark plug, something I failed to mention before is you want to be checking the old spark plug just to make sure there isn't one of the helicoil inserts that's still connected to the spark plug. I've had a couple come out on the spark plug before. I've gone to put a new spark plug in and wondered why it's jiggling about in there and it's all loose. That's because I failed to check and the thread was actually thicker due to the insert being stuck to the spark plug. So if that happens, you probably need to add an insert back into your head before you go and put your spark plug in. But in this case we're fine, and for the purposes of this video I'm only going to be swapping out one spark plug, but however it's the same process for every other. So now what I'll do is simply what we did earlier in the reverse. So I'm going to try and start winding this in by hand without dropping it, which is the trickiest bit. And then we take our deep socket and extension and just gently, because of course the threads are still loose, gently slot that over the spark plug. We can start winding it in. Feeling like it's starting to seat, so we grab our ratchet. And just gently, very, very gently. Try not to put any force on the spark plug. You can feel that the crush washer now is sort of seated up against the head itself. So I'm just going to give it another quarter turn to make sure that I firmly seat that crush washer against the head. So that washer is designed to crush up against the head with that extra quarter turn. Obviously they only need nipping up. They're alloy heads and they can strip threads very easily, so be careful. And there's my quarter turn. Now all you have to do is the other three in the same fashion and you're done. Thanks for watching.